So students, in this video we will learn about the concept of operator overloading. So before proceeding onto this topic, that is your operator overloading, I just want to tell you about what is an overloading. There is a concept of a polymorphism in case of a C++. As you know, polymorphism, that means poly means many and morphism means forms. So which has many forms. So that is called polymorphism. In case of a polymorphisms, we have the two important concepts. The first one is your function overloading and second is operator overloading. Now, what is function overloading? As the name suggests, function overloading. That means we are going to use the same function name for the different purpose, then that is called function overloading. For example, we can take an example like if we are going to use the sum function, that is for addition of the two numbers. Similarly, we can use the sum function for addition of the two characters or appending one character to the another one. So that is the concept of a function overloading, where we are using the function sum for adding the two numbers as well as for adding the two characters. So that is the concept of a function overloading. Similarly, we have the second concept that comes under the polymorphism in C++, and that is your operator overloading. So this operator overloading is one of the many exciting features of C++ language, and it is an important technique that has enhanced the power of extensibility of the C++. So how we can use this operator overloading, that we will learn in this video. How we can implement the programs using operator overloading, that we will learn in this video. And how the operators can behave for the different situations. The same operators like your plus will behave like your for the additions of the two numbers, and the plus will operate for the your adding of the two objects. So in this video, you will also learn which operators we can overload and which cannot be overloaded in the C++ language. So first of all, I just want to tell you which operators we can overload in case of a C++. Like you can overload binary operators like your plus, minus, multiply, division. So these operators you can overload. As well as you can also overload the unary operator like your plus only, minus. Apart from that, we can also overload the operators like ampersand. We can also overload double less than, greater than. We can also overload your equal operator. We can also overload not operator. We can also overload new operator. We can also overload delete operator. And the operators which cannot be overloaded, that are your dot operator, your scope resolution operator we cannot overload, and similarly we can also uh, not overload, that is your question mark and colon operators. So these operators we cannot be overloaded in case of a C++. Now before proceeding about this one, that is how we can overload these operators, first of all I just want to tell you the one of the most important function which comes under the operator overloading, or you can say that the operator function by which we can overload the operators. So first of all, the general form of an operator function I'm just going to write here. So this is your first of all what we need to do, just need to define here the return type, then we will write here the class name, then we will use the scope resolution operator, then we will use the special keyword, that is your operator, and then you can write the OP. Here OP is specifying that which operator we are going to be overload, and then we can pass the argument list. So this is an operator function by which we can overload any operators, in which it comes with a function body. Now here generally return type. What is the return type here? The return type is a type of the value returned by the specified operation And what is an OP? OP is the operator being overloaded. So OP is generally preceded by the keyword, and that keyword is your operator in this case. And operator OP, the complete this operator OP is called operator function, which are used to overloading the operators. Now, these operator function can be either member functions, that means it may be your non-static, or it may be your friend function. So we can make this operator function as a non-static, or you can make it as a friend function. Now, when we are going to talk about this friend function, the basic difference in between them, that is, when we are talking about that this operator function may be used as a non-static, or you can call it as a member function. So the operator function can be either member function, that is a non-static, or friend function. Now, what is the difference between in using this operator function as a member function or a friend function? The basic difference in between them is that the friend function will have only the one argument for the unary operator and two for the binary operators. While when we are going to use this operator function as a member function, then it has a no argument for the unary operators and only one argument for the binary operators. So by this way we can use this operator function as a, either you can use it as a member function, non-static, or a friend function. So let us we start with this process of overloading the operators. So first of all, what we need to do, we have some basic steps. The first step that I am going to write is, the first step is create a class. First of all, we need to create the class that defines the data type. That is to be used in the overloading operation. Now the second one, and the second one is what we have required, declare the operator function. And that operator function is operator OP. In the public part of the class. Now this operator function, it may be either the member function or friend function. Third one, define the operator function to implement the operation, to implement the required operation. So these are the three steps that we can use for overloading the operators. Now we are going to just see the examples how we can overload your binary operator. So first of all, with the starting with this binary operator, that is your plus. So first of all, what we need to do, just I'm going to open this code block in which we will write the program. So first of all, what we need to do, I'm just going to make the program here. Hash, this is your comment I'm going to give, this is your overloading of plus operator. Now here the plus is your binary operator. I'm just going to save this file, this save, and this is your operator dot cpp. Now what we need to define, I'm going to use here the hash include iostream. Then I'm just going to use the namespace using namespace std. Then we are going to define here the class, and the class name is complex. Then we are going to define here, this is float x, and we are taking here the two private members where x and y are the real part and the imaginary part. Real part and imaginary part of the number. Now what we need to define? We are just going to define here public section, because the variable we have defined above, that is x and y, are by default private. Now this we are going to define here the complex. The function name is same as that of your class name, so it is your constructor. We are define here the default constructor. Now we are going to define here the another one, that is your complex. This is parameterized constructor we are taking. The first one we have taken the argument real, which is representing your the real part of the number. Then in this definition we are going to define x equal to real, assigning the value y equal to imaginary. So once you have defined this one, another function we can also define, and that function will be your operator function. And how we can define? First of all, data type, return type is complex, and then we need to write the operator function. This is operator. Now the op that we want to overload, that is your plus, and we can passing here the type complex. Now we are taking here the another function void display. The operator function definition we will write here outside your class. Again, the definition of this void display we will write outside of the class. Now we are going to define this one. This is your complex, is your class name, or you can call it return type, and then class name, then scope resolution operator. Then we are going to write the operator function. This is your operator keyword, then the operator which we want to overload. Then we are taking here the variable c, or you can say it as a object, because complex is a class and c is your object. Now we are going to write the definition. This is complex. I am taking the another object here. This is temporary object I have taken. With the help of temporary one, I am just going to assign the value, that is temp1 dot x equal to x plus, that is just c dot x, because c by which c is also an object. With the help of we are going to assign the value. Similarly, temp2 dot x equal to temp1 dot y equal to, this is y plus c dot y, and then we are going to return the object, and the object name is temp1. So what we are doing here, we are just going to declare here the operator function, and that we have passed here the object as an argument of the class name. The class name is complex. So by this complex class will take the value of c dot x and will add to the x, that is your x is your variable of this complex data member, and then it will return to this temp1 dot x. Similarly, y value will be added to this one and will assign to the temp dot y. Now we are going to write the definition of the display. How we can write? Void, then complex, then scope resolution operator, and then display. And in this display I'm just going to pass the void, and then going to write the value of your x as well as imaginary part. So imaginary part we can show with the help of plus j, and this is your y. Then we are just going to define the main function. So this is your integer main. In this main, I am just going to take the object here. The first object I have taken with the help of the class name c1, that is a complex c1, then c2 and c3. So by this c1 we are going to assign the value. How we can assign? That is your c1 equal to calling the invoking the constructor, that is your parameterized constructor. The parameterized constructor name is complex, which is same as that of a class name, and passing the value here, the first one 2.5 and comma 3.5. So what we are doing here, we are just going to call this complex constructor and passing value 2.5 and 3.5. So this real value will be your, you can check it, this is real value. This values 2.5 will be passed to this real, and 3.5 will be passed to this imaginary variable. So we are just going to assign the x value and y value for the this class complex. How we are going to assign? With the help of C1 in object. Similarly, with the help of C2, we are just going to assign C2 equal to, again calling the constructor complex and passing here the value 1.6 comma 2.7. Now what we are going to do, we have the now two objects are there, C1 and C2. We have another object, that is C3. With the help of C3, what we are going to do, we are just going to add C1 plus C2. Now how the operators are overloading are performing here, because generally when we are going to use this plus operator directly, so this plus operator we can use for addition of the two numbers. But in this case, we are going to add the two objects, that is C1 and C2. What the C1 is containing? C1 is containing the two values 2.5 and 3.5 as a real and imaginary part of a number. And similarly, C2 is also the containing the real and imaginary part of the number. Now we are not directly add the object here, but with the help of this plus operator function, we are going to overload this operator function, that is your plus, and with the help of this one we are just going to add the values of these. So by default values we are adding with the help of c dot x plus x and storing into the temp1 dot x. Similarly, we are going to add the imaginary part y plus dot c dot y to temp1 dot y. Now if you want to display the value, just go to this one and you can write here the cout statement, that is your cout. And first of all, I am just going to write here the C1 object value. This is your C1, and just going to call this one with the help of C1 dot display. With the help of this C1 object, we can call the display method. So this will show you the two values, that is your 2.5 and 3.5 for the real and imaginary value. Similarly, we can also show the cout with the help of cout, that is where we are going to display C2 object values of this number, real part and imaginary part. So this is again the calling the display method with the help of C2. Now the last one, we are going to print the value of C3 object, which is adding the two objects values. How we can call with the help of C3 dot display. And what we have to do, we just to return 0, because we have taken here the return type of the main is integer type. So now just going to save this. This is so save. So we have made this program of overloading of the plus binary operator. Now just need to compile or run it. So you can see that it is showing some error. We just need to resolve it. Expected initializer before complex. So it is showing some error. So we need to resolve it. How we can resolve it? Just you need to use here the terminator sign, because we didn't close this class complex. Now we have closed it with the terminator, and there should be no space in this operator and plus function. Now click on the save and then execute the program. So when you will execute this program, you will see the output screen in which it is showing C1 equal to 2.5 plus J3 3.5. So this is the C1 object value we have passed through the parameterized constructor. Similarly, C2 is equal to 1.6 plus J 2.7. Again we have passed this value 1.6 and 2.7 with the help of parameterized constructor with the help of this object C2. Then we are going to add with the help of C1 plus C2 with the help of operator function, and you can see the result 2.5 plus 1.6, it is giving the 4.1, plus similarly this is giving 3.5 plus 2.7 is giving the 6.2. So you can see that what we are doing here, we are just going to use this plus operator for adding the two numbers, two values, or you can say that with the help of this plus operator we are going to add two objects values C1 and C2. So that is the concept of operator overloading, and that is was we have overloaded here the plus binary operator. So I'm just going to repeat it again. First of all, what we need to do, we just need to define the class here. This is your class complex in which we have taken the two variables which are by default is private members. So x and y, we have taken the float values. Then we are going to define the default constructor complex. We have not defined anything here. Now you can also write here any statement if you want to write in the default constructor. So when you will make the object, it automatically call the constructor. Now this is again the parameterized constructor. In this we are going to defining the values with the help of real and imaginary. Real values we have passed to the x. Similarly, imaginary part we have assigned to the y, that is your data members. Now we are going to define your operator function. So this is an operator function in which we are going to overload your plus binary operator. Now this is a display. With the help of display we can show the output. Now we are going to define this operator function. How we can create it? First of all, we need to write here the return type. That return type is complex. That is your again the class name. Then we have this complex. This is the class name we are taking. We are taking here the scope relationship operator. When we use this scope relationship operator, when we are going to define any method or function outside of the class, then we use this scope relationship operator. Then we are going to write the operator function with the help of operator keyword, and the operator keyword is operator. Then plus the op, that means operation which you want to be overload. Then we are passing here the parameter of type class, that means class type. So now we need to add something. So add with the help of objects. How we can add? This is x value plus c dot x. So with the help of this c dot x, we are going to add the value of x1, and then y imaginary part we are going to add and returning the temp here. With the help of display, we are just going to display the values of x and y, x plus j and y. So this is we have created here the three objects c1, c2, c3. With the help of c1, we are just passing the two numbers. That means a real part and imaginary part 2.5 and 3.5. So for the C1 object, the real part is 2.5 and imaginary part is 3.5. For the C2, again we are passing the two values 1.6 and 2.7 as a real part and imaginary part for the C2 object. Now we are going to add these two objects with the help of C1 plus C2. So plus is overloading here. We are adding the two objects value. C1 values will be added, that means 2.5 will be added to the 1.6, then it will give the real part of the C3 object. Similarly 3.5 will be added to the 2.7 and give the imaginary part of the C3. So with the help of display function, we are going to display C1 dot display, C2 dot display and C3 dot display. We are displaying the three objects value, and you can see the output again. So I am just going to run it again. It is representing C1, that is C1 2.5 plus J 3.5, C2 equal to 1.6 plus J 2.7, and C3 equal to 4.1 plus J 6.2. So by this way we can overload the binary operator plus. So that was the concept of overloading the operator, that is called operator overloading.